Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And fair enough, I've been putting out a load of analytical videos on the channel recently, which are very relevant considering that the 9.17 test server has just gone up. But you know what I've really missed? Playing the game and commentating on some gameplay and trying to explain exactly what I'm thinking and when it happens. So I have missed that, so I'm getting stuck back in playing one of my favorite tanks in the game, undoubtedly, the Cashback 25T. This is probably the first tier 10 light tank in the game, I'd say, even though I know it's a tier 10 medium tank, but this is how I imagine a tier 10 light tank would play out. It's still got awesome mobility, a power to weight ratio of nearly 29, and it's got great ground resistances and fairly good track traverse. The track traverse isn't amazing, it's 42 degrees, that's definitely not light tank levels. But still, as long as you can use that, well, relatively new handbrake feature or locking the tracks, you can pull off some amazing slides in the Cashback. Not only does this vehicle have incredible mobility, it's also a fairly low-profile tank, and it does have some armor. Now, I know that the armor is certainly not the highlight on this vehicle, with 60 at the front of the tank, 40 at the sides and 30 at the rear, and 50 on the hull, 30 on the sides of the hull, and 15 at the rear of the hull. But do you know what? At least for this patch and all of the previous patches, that has protect you from the 3 caliber overmatch rule. And it should, I guess, continue to do that into the future as well. Although you're going to have, I guess, this awkward angle between 70 and 76 degrees now against higher caliber guns. But I'm not talking about overmatches. This is meant to be about the gameplay, right? What else does the Cashback have going for it? Well, the Cashback has an incredible 105mm autoloader. It was, I guess, the first auto-loading tier 10 medium tank. Obviously, the TVP came out last year and really kind of started to directly compete with the Cashback. And while the TVP gets the shells out fast and it deals 1,280 damage within, I guess, 4.5 seconds of the first shell, the Cashback still has the magazine potential. It's got 1,950 average damage per magazine. It's going to take you 5 shots to get there, and it's also going to take you just under 11 seconds of continuous fire after the first shot to be able to get all of that ammunition out. But sometimes you don't need to do the damage quickly, and you have these nice prolonged, should we say, more long-winded engagements where it's far better to have the big magazine. And this is one of those. The Jagdtiger stuck in his tracks, and we finish him off with 3 quick shots. And you know what? I almost kind of wish my team weren't here for those kind of engagements, as we would have probably been able to take him out just by ourselves. But we've got 2 left. I'm surprised that shell missed the AMX CDC, but the aim time in this tank is rather long at 2.7 seconds, and even after you use a gun laying drive and things like vertical stabilizers on this tank, if you choose to use a gun laying drive, of course, then hopefully that starts to get a little bit better. Now, one of the most important things for the Cashback is that you are looking at your map. You know what? I might as well make the map as big as I possibly can right now, because when I'm driving around in the Cashback, I'm pretty much looking at my map kind of 70% of the time and looking for opportunities like this. A tier 9 heavy tank out of position. What do you think the Cashback is going to do in this kind of a position? I am absolutely going to chew this guy up. Not only am I safe from the artillery, I forced the Type 4 Heavy with his 2,050 base hit points to turn his armor towards the Chieftain T95 that we see above. So the Chieftain gets a shot in, and so that allows me to connect all 5 of my shells in the magazine, dealing 1,827 damage and taking out that tier 9 Japanese heavy tank, who frankly just pushed too far, too fast, obviously a little bit frustrated that he didn't get to meet anyone in the town, and we chew him up like some big onigiri snack. And that really is Cashback gameplay in a nutshell. That was the perfect situation for this tank. Taking on a vehicle that we know that we're going to be able to take out pretty much in a single magazine with the 1 additional shell that we support fire that we received from, I guess, the Chieftain T95 on our team. And we have him isolated. We also, using the mobility of our tank, can avoid his gun by out-traversing his vehicle using the mobility. That's just the perfect situation for the Cashback, and that is what you need to look for on the battlefield. You need to be this lone ranger going around trying to turn the engagements in your team's favor, or at least in your favor. And if you do that enough times, you only really have to do that twice in a game to have a great result in the Bat Chatillon. Other vehicles have to try and find positions where they can continuously fire at the enemy tanks. The Bat Chat, on the other hand, wants to try and find opportunities where it can just unload all of its shells. Now, one of the most important things to do when you're engaging autoloaders in the Bat Chatillon is to make sure that you're counting the enemy shots. And you know what? It's not only important to do that in the Bat Chat, it's important to do that in every tank. And we know that the T-57 Heavy has fired twice. And also, I remember counting one of his shells earlier, and it looks like he definitely is reloading now. And so we're going to come round. Are we going to be able to finish him off, or is the CDC going to finish him off? The CDC finishes him off, and I waste one of my shells. Now, wasting one of your shells is never a good idea in the Bat Chatillon, because you only have 30. You only start with 30 rounds of ammunition. Oh my god, there's a leopard. Quick bit of evasive maneuver. He probably thinks I'm reloading right now, but I'm going to keep my gun facing towards him. Oh, disaster. We ricochet off the front of the leopard, but at least our final remaining round goes into his tracks, tracking him in place and doing a 355 damage. So right now, what I want to do is I don't want to abandon my friends. We are outnumbered here by 2 tanks, with there being 7 tanks on the enemy team and 5 on my team. And these are 2 important and still relatively healthy tier 9 tanks that I need to try and support. And so fair enough, I could run away right now and get out of this situation. But if I run away and leave these 2, what am I really going to achieve? I think the team has pretty much lost anyway. So I'm going to try and hang around for as long as I possibly can to still be able to stop the leopard from progressing the fight, and maybe I can allow these guys to start to put some rounds in. Now I'm going to change my location, having held back the leopard and stopped those lights and mediums from rushing in and taking them on, and I'm going to cover my friends' backsides. So I take out the WZ-132, turn my attention to the 5100, and then I quickly realize, oh god, there's a Bat Chat coming after me. Put one into him, avoid his shell. These are the tricky fights for the Bat Chat. You're both gonna lose your health. It's almost as if you're in a knife fight. When you're in a knife fight, I guess the first thing you need to accept is that you are going to get cut. And hopefully you can just cut the enemy more than they cut you. And we certainly managed to do that, only receiving, I believe, 1 shell from the enemy Bat Chat and managing to put, I think, 3 rounds into him. And luckily, I think the Centurion 7-1 gave him a parting gift, so we shut him down before we get away. So now one of the most important things to do here in this situation is to be communicating with your team. When you've got limited amounts of ammunition left, you have to tell your team what they can expect from you. And I'm communicating with the Chieftain T95 and telling him I've got 8 rounds left, and I tell him exactly what I have left as well, telling him that I've got 5 heat rounds and 3 APCR rounds. And by pressing the F8 key now, it will also say that I have 5 rounds loaded, and that's in the canister, which is an important thing to do in your autoloaders. And so we can start to formulate a plan to hopefully be able to take out the remaining 5 tanks on the enemy team. So what do I want to be doing right now? Well, not crashing into my dead tier 10 self-propelled guns would be a good start, right? No. What we really need to do is just gain control of the vision. The vision is the most important thing that you can secure with your medium tanks. And so, how are the enemies likely to advance at us here on Runeberg? Well, obviously they've got 2 streets to be using down here. The one where we killed the Type 4 Heavier, and alternatively, if they try to manage to get around over the back, they can still sneak around and then get down this alleyway. But the Chieftain is managing to spot the 5100, and I'm going after the T150. Now, I don't really want to fire here. I wanted to save these remaining shells, and it also leaves me with an awkward number in the gun. And I'm very surprised that I actually get spotted there by the SP1C. Oh, an absolute disaster. He hits my engine, guys. Now that fantastic mobility of the Bat Chatillon has been all but taken away. Maybe we can punish him though. Yes, we can. We take him out. And now I've got this very awkward situation where I've got 3 heat rounds and 3 APCR rounds in this tank. Do you know, it's debatable whether you actually should take a magazine of heat in the Bat Chat. Obviously, in these kind of situations where you've only got 6 left, it is incredibly awkward. But also, there are situations where maybe you're going one-on-one against an E75, an E100, a mouse, maybe even the hull of an IS-7, where having that magazine of heat that you might be loading as your second magazine of the game can be incredibly useful. Unfortunately, the enemy Leopard takes a shot at the Chieftain T95, but I guess, luckily, he doesn't take any damage. I thought that he took damage there. It sounded like he did. So I'm going to reverse. I'm going to try and use some of these bushes, trying to put some pressure on the enemy team here. Surely it's time to fire. There goes one of my remaining 3. Now the Leopard is down to 39% of his hit points. That means that he is now a 2-shot for me. Or I guess maybe a 1-shot from each of us will be able to take the guy out. Possibly not. All I know is I'm on 7,000 damage, 7 kills, but I want to get a Radley Walters here. And so I'm trying to communicate again with the chieftain on my team, telling him how many rounds I've got left. He tells me to do a full reload. I tell him that I'm only going to be loading 3 APCR rounds. And then I notice that for some reason, he is going absolutely ham across. I guess he wants to be going and taking on the Leopard on the enemy team, and I just slept for, I guess, the 20 seconds, 30 seconds there, and with the Den Engine, I've got no chance of being able to catch him up. I really don't know what was going through his mind there for him to just rush off and get caught by a 5100, which is always going to mince up the tier 8 British Clan Wars reward tank, I guess, right? And in this kind of situation, it's rather awkward. I need to put 2 into the Leopard. I think I needed to put 2 or 3 into the 5100, and that really simply isn't going to happen in this situation. I figure out that the Tortoise is likely to be pushing through the northern part of the map, and so I just have a go. I have a punt, and indeed the Tortoise is in the middle of the map, ricocheting off me, so I'm going to take the as far east as I possibly go to try and use this ridge line to avoid shots from the Tortoise to try and isolate the Leopard, but with a dead engine, and now only 2 remaining shells of APCR in the tank, I'm certainly not going to be taking the Leopard down. And the 5100 shuts me down, 7,000 damage, 7 kills, not quite enough to win this game. So irrelevant of the result, hopefully you guys got an idea of why I absolutely love the Bat Chat, and if you're playing on the European server, you really owe it to yourself to be picking this tank up in the next month. Not only will you get it on a discount, you'll also accelerate your crew training in it, and really the Bat Chat, once you learn the playstyle, and it takes a long time to be able to do so, can be certainly one of the most rewarding experiences in World of Tanks. I was pretty happy with everything I did this game, apart from the play where I got spotted by the RU-251 and he managed to get around into my engine. Really, the T-150 wasn't a threat in this situation. I probably should have left him alone and remained hidden to either allow the chieftain on my team to take him out or to secure a kill myself on the SB-1C. And also, I really wish I hadn't had a momentary lapse in my concentration, which prevented me from being able to help the chieftain in the final assault. Nevertheless, it was still a great result, and let's just take a quick look at the post-game stats. So unsurprisingly, a high caliber and a top gun for this round here. 7,500 damage that we dealt to the enemy team, and 7 kills, only 1 away from a Radley Walters medal. Over double what anyone else was able to achieve, and pretty much triple or quadruple what most players were able to do. My marksmanship in the Bat Chat wasn't that bad, but you still have to be really careful with these shots, and if you waste a magazine at long range, it can be completely detrimental to your likelihood of winning an endgame situation. And despite those couple of heat rounds that we fired, 40,000 credits profit is always nice. So the Bat Chatillon, one of my most played tanks, and for a very good reason. It's awesome fun, and it's immensely rewarding if you read the map correctly, but also immensely punishing if you don't calculate the situation you're getting yourself into without having an adequate plan for exiting it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel out. And simply click through up here or use that more info icon in the top right hand corner of your screen to see a plethora of other awesome Bat Chat replays. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about the Bat Chatillon. Do you think it has stood the test of time, and is one of the originals still the best? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.